Hello, YouTube. This is Ziggy J. I'm going to do a quick review of Netflix's Death Note. I'm a huge fan of the anime and manga of Death Note. I've seen it at least 1,000 times. I know it pretty well, and I'm a huge fan of the anime. Now, I went into this movie completely separating it from the anime. Now, I know that with an adaptation, you're supposed to honor the source material. I understand that. However, I wanted to see how this movie would stand up to people who did not read the anime and manga. Like, if you didn't know what Death Note was, would you come into this movie and really enjoy this movie? So that's what I wanted to go into about it. Now, there are a couple of points I'm going to touch. I'm not going to go over the entire movie. There were some things that kind of bothered me with the movie. Overall, was the movie terrible? It wasn't a terrible movie. It wasn't fantastic. I would say I'll go ahead and rate it now. Out of a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this movie maybe a 5.5, maybe 6. It wasn't terrible as a movie if I was just coming into the story of the movie and I had no idea what Death Note was previously. But if you're going to go off of comparing it beat to beat to Death Note the manga, yes, you're going to be very, very disappointed. You're not going to like this movie at all. So I came into it with the mind of I'm going to judge this movie independent from the manga. So Death Note. So Death Note starts with a kid named Light Turner. Very, very kind of your typical American high school loner who he's not really, nobody really pays him much attention. And he's just walking down the street and he sees these kids being bullied. He ironically doesn't step in. It's actually the cheerleader named Mia, who I guess is our version of Misa Misa, who actually steps in. Okay, and so we see there that Light obviously has a problem with bad people and people doing bad things, whatever, whatever. Okay, so then in the film, the way that Light Turner comes across the Death Note is he's sitting at a table and he's actually, after being assaulted by the bullies earlier, he's sitting at a table and icing his eye because he had got a black eye. And the Death Note just falls out of the sky and lands pretty much practically right in front of him. He gets up, he picks it up, he kind of looks it over, and he takes it with him. So Ryuk, which is the god of death, he actually comes and forces Light or persuades to Light to write down the first name. In the Death Note, whoever's name you write in the notebook, they're going to die. So he pretty much persuades Light to write the first name. Now, this is okay. I didn't have a problem with this because it is a god of death. Now in Light or in Death Note the manga, Ryuk was pretty much a spectator. He was like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to say whether what you're doing is right or wrong. I'm not going to help you out. I'm not on your side. I'm not on anybody's side. I'm just here to observe. I'm here to have fun. I'm bored, whatever. Which was fine for, Ryuk was for comedic purposes in the manga and anime. But this Ryuk was one who was more aggressive. He was like, okay, write this person's name down. You'll see what happens. And I didn't find issue with that so much because he is a god of death. So I didn't find issue with that as much as other people did. So moving on, Light, writes the name down. So, oh crap, this Death Note has powers, blah blah blah. He finds out that it really did work. So Light Yagami, not Light Yagami, but Light Turner, his father is a police officer. His name is James Turner, and his character is, I mean, it's all right, I guess. I mean, it's nothing really to really say about his character. It's okay. So he gets, soon once Jane or yeah, once Light Turner starts writing more names down, of course James Turner gets, wind of what's going on. Okay, this is not, but the thing that really irritated me about it was when Light was actually writing names in the notebook, it seemed to me that he was writing people's names down, and he was writing different causes of death for each person. Now, granted, it was 400 people that he killed, but it seemed like it wasn't really all with heart attacks. Like with the anime version of Death Note, most of Light's victims were died of heart attacks. So it was kind of easy to conclude that, okay, well, this is strange. All of these criminals are just suddenly dying of heart attacks. Something isn't right about this. So I can understand that, but in the movie, it seemed like he was giving all of his victims different causes of death. I don't see how they could really link the two. But anyway, so I'm just jumping all over the place. So Mia. Now Mia, she's the first person that I have a problem with in this anime. Mia is outside of comparing it to the Japanese Death Note, Mia was very aggressive. She didn't pay any attention to Light at all. He was just another nerd or whatever. She didn't pay any attention to him at all. In the beginning, then all of a sudden he becomes an interest to her, and especially after Light lets her know that he has this book that was capable of killing people. So Mia becomes very, very aggressive. She even mocks him. She provokes him throughout the movie. She mocks him throughout the movie. She makes him feel bad for not killing throughout the movie. It's really weird. So I didn't like her character. That's the first thing. So I'll go ahead and say that I did not like Mia's character at all. She was just like a typical. She was pretty much using Light, and I didn't like that. Even outside of Death Note, the anime, I just didn't like that. That she was just using him like that. It was just really kind of like, huh? And then Light, the very first stupid thing that he did was, one, he was walking out in public with the Death Note as if this wasn't a killer notebook. And then she comes and sits down by him and says, well, what do you got there? And he's like, well, I can't really tell you. And she's like, and she gets up and, she turns away. And then he's like, well, do you want to know what it is? And I'm like, why the hell would you tell, like, what are you doing? So then he not only tells her this is a book that can kill people, he shows her how to use it. And I'm just like, why would you do that? You don't even know who this person is. So that just didn't make any sense. That was just stupid. So then she catches on. So now you have two people. You have Ryuk and you have Mia, who's literally controlling Light and telling him what the hell to do. You can tell that Light's personality in this movie, he's compassionate. He's not he doesn't want to do the things that he does. He's very compassionate. Ironically enough, he's a polar opposite of Light Yagami. But he's very, very compassionate. He's very, very like, look, I just don't want to do this. I don't think this is necessary. I just don't want to do this. And you have Mia in his ear telling him to do it, scene after scene. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. So that brings me to L. Now, L is one of my favorite characters in the original anime. And his character is brilliantly done in the original anime. This L, he had some of L's quirks, the weird way of sitting down, eating the candy, or eating the sweets, his little weird, whatever, social awkwardness. But L it was a lot of things that didn't make sense. First of all, L immediately kind of knew to start getting detectives to start following Light. And it wasn't really clear on why. He just decided that Light had access to police records. And maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I didn't really see how he knew that. I didn't really understand how he knew that Light had access to police records. And then when James Turner comes on to the scene and starts calling Kira out, like, Kira, you're a coward, we don't need to be afraid of this guy, he's not a threat, we're going to take him down, blah, blah, blah. Then something, and then he doesn't die. I guess L draws a conclusion because, well, Kira didn't kill this guy. Kira must have some kind of personal relationship or some kind of affinity for this guy to not want to kill him right then and there. Because Mia was ready to kill him. I'm like, what the hell? Mia was ready to kill Light's dad when he was on TV, but Light was like, no, that's my dad. What are you doing? Da 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 da. Now we all know the real Light Yagami probably would not have hesitated to kill his own dad. But we're not comparing this to, the Japanese version. So L immediately draws the conclusion that Kira must be Light because Kira didn't kill James Turner when he was on TV. Now, okay, I guess I can understand how he made that assumption, but it was a stretch. Just because that could have been anybody. Just because Kira didn't kill him, maybe Kira didn't find him as a significant enough threat. Maybe that was somebody who knew. Maybe Kira did know James Turner personally, but it doesn't mean that it was his son. So it's all kind of things that could have been taken into consideration. The fact that he immediately jumped to Light Turner just was kind of, I didn't like that. So then so here's something else that was weird. So then you have the cafe scene. L immediately knows that Light is in the cafe. Somehow. He immediately knows that Light's in the cafe, and he goes to the cafe, and he approaches Light. And it's weird because the whole time they were sitting there talking, L was immediately accusing Light. Okay, I know you're Kira. Go ahead and confess. I'm just wondering how you do it. How do you commit these murders? I can't. I think it's impossible how you were able to have such composure and not kill your father. I'm just like, okay, this. You're coming out very, very aggressive. To be trying. You don't have no real evidence that this guy did it, and you're coming out like you're in an interrogation room. Like, it just didn't make much sense. And then Light, he doesn't deny it. He just sits there and he's just like, well, you don't know what you don't understand. You just don't understand. And maybe, maybe Kira wants all this to stop. And maybe he just wants, like, why would you, even outside of the original work, why would you not deny that this is you? You've killed all these people. Like, where does self-preservation come into the story? Because, it's like, you've killed all these people. Why would you sit there and not defend yourself? He pretty much said, yes, I am Kira. I'm just like, there was no denying it. That's stupid. That in any type of movie, that's stupid. So I'm just like, okay. So then L, gets even more aggressive. He's freaking knocking things off the table, trying to get Light to confess. It was just really, the scene was just really kind of like tense, but in a bad way. It wasn't a good tense. So now that I guess Light knows that L knows who he is, he tries to find a way to get L's real name. And the way he comes up with getting L's real name is to control, because something someone else mentioned, a couple other YouTubers mentioned, was the fact that they changed some rules in the Notebook. Now, apparently, you can reverse someone's death by burning the page that you write their name on. Okay, so Light's plan was to write Watari's name in a notebook and force Watari to reveal L's real name, and then he was going to burn the page as to not have him die, which to me was kind of stupid. I'm like, okay, so if you're going to write the dude's name down, just write it down. There were other ways that he could have gotten his name, I guess. So that was just dumb. So, and he manages to do it. Watari, he's going out and he's, going to the orphanage or wherever the place is that holds the records to L's name, and he's going and he's, trying to find it. So L, which was really weird, L gets wind of this, or not even gets wind of it, but L notices that Watari is missing, and that Watari never does anything without consulting L about it first. And L is going, he's losing his freaking mind. He's getting emotional. He's on the verge of tears. He is really losing his mind. And then he goes and confronts Light at his house, like, I did your son is Kira. Tell me what Watari is. Tell me where he is. I told you that if anything ever bad ever happened to Watari, that I was going to, da 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 da. I'm like, whoa, calm down. He was just to be a detective, he was not very cool, calm, and collected at all. At all. So, all the while, you have Mia in the background. Again, I do not like this character. I just do not like her. You have Mia in the background seeing all this. She's, of course, still plotting. And then you have the investigators who were supposed to be investigating, the American investigators. And Ryuk writes their name in a notebook for them to all pretty much kill themselves by walking off of a building. Like, again, this is all over the place. So this is not in chronological order of what happened. And I'm just like, okay. Now, I didn't have a problem with Ryuk, writing names, but it just didn't really make any sense on why he would why. So it just didn't make any sense. So pretty much the last part of the movie is pretty kind of like faded. You just have pretty much L going crazy trying to kill Light at this point, and Mia trying to just write as many names down as she can to make the situation better, and all of it's just kind of really weird. So it ends up Mia dies. Thank God. I'm actually glad she did. Mia dies because they were standing on top of some kind of like a Ferris wheel, and her plan was to write Light's name down in the book. I didn't really understand why, and he had wrote her name in the book. It was just so stupid, and so they both fell to their deaths. Light survived the fall. Mia didn't. So Light's dad, because he pretty much confessed to L that he was Kira. So Light's dad now learns that he really is Kira, blah, 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 blah. So overall, as a standalone movie, the movie was just alright. If I had never watched Death Note or never knew of Death Note and I came into this movie as just some kind of kid who finds a magical notebook and he has the power to kill with it, the movie was interesting, in a sense that it was an interesting idea. Now, if I coming in as a Death Note fan of the manga and the anime, the movie was trash. It was no resemblance to the anime and manga, but I didn't want to come into it with that because I almost didn't watch it because of that. But I didn't want to come into it with that kind of mindset, like, okay, I know for a fact it's not going to be anything like the manga and the anime. I don't want to see this. I didn't want to come into it like that. I wanted to come into it as a person who had never been introduced to Death Note, who was going to be watching an original idea, an original movie. As an original movie, it's a 5.5 out of 10. There were a lot of things that didn't make sense. The pacing was terrible. The rules of the book were stupid, and a lot of things that didn't make sense. I don't think the movie by itself was terrible, but you have a lot of people who are comparing it to the original anime. That's fair. In that sense, yeah, the movie sucked in that sense. Nothing like the original. The characters are nothing like the original characters. Light Turner was like a mockery. I mean, that was like shameful in comparison to like Yagami's cool head, calculating, very manipulative, very sure of himself. So that's my review. Again, 5.5 out of 10 at best. It's watchable. It's not something that it's like, oh my god, it sucks and you turn it off at the first 30 minutes. It's watchable. But that's about all I can give it. So you guys have any, you agree, disagree, think I'm a fanboy or whatever, fangirl, whatever. Leave it in the comment section. I'm going to get my friend to watch it because he's a huge Death Note fan, and see what he says, because I'm pretty sure he's gonna, scrutinize the hell out of it. So that's gonna be very interesting. But yeah, if you have any comments, just leave them below.